1149 UK time, 08122024.
Amidst this chaos and turmoil, the White House said in a statement that U.S. President Joe Biden is closely monitoring the extraordinary events in Syria. Said that U.S. should not get involved in the Syria war. President Bashar al-Assad is gone. He also added that the Russian President Vladimir Putin is no longer interested in protecting him. Lost all interest owing to a bad economy and also because of what's happening in Ukraine and Israel.
But eventually there could be a pathway to a stable Syria, a Syria for the Syrians.
Absolutely. It's interesting to hear from your guest just now saying there's lots of speculation about where Assad might be right now. Now, this report saying that he's fled the country to an unknown location. My bet would be that he's in Russia right now. But, there were lots of reports last night in the last few days saying that we should not underestimate President Assad's instinct for survival. He's the same man who, during the civil war, has dropped 82,000 barrel bombs on civilians. 400,000 people died during the civil war. So has he really gone down without a fight? That's the question, really.
Yeah, a brutal regime that Assad placed on his own people for many years, Alicia. And this will be a moment for lots of people. We've seen the pictures in Damascus of people celebrating. Immediately, it will be, but eventually there could be a pathway to.
Or maybe The Rock has got a beat. Stone Cold Steve Austin, which means I gotta get in my pickup truck, drink some Steve Weisers, listen to some Backstreet Boys. And that's the bottom line, because the great one said so. And one more thing, this Sunday night at Armageddon, The Rock is going to do all he can to win the WWE title. If you smell what The Rock is cooking.
Yeah. It's amazing they got paid so much money for that.
25 million and 40 million?
I think 20 and 40. Yeah, I think that's what I'd heard. Which I'm happy Mike got the money, and I'm happy that he didn't get hurt. That was my fear, that it was going to be a real fight. He was going to get hurt.
You've known him for a long time. I've known him for a long time.
I love that dude.
Me too.
And he was a larger-than-life figure in my childhood.
Truly, me
when
too.
I was a kid, when he was a champ, it was like people don't understand what a champ he was. Like he was he wasn't just the heavyweight champion of the world. He was an executioner. Like
Truly.
every fight was just a
I
matter
don't
of how
remember
long was it going to
which
last.
fight it was that I went to go see a couple of fights, and I actually went to go see Julio Cesar Chavez fight, and that's when I met Tyson in the green room, and, and I met at the same time Muhammad Ali in the green room.
Oh wow.
Chow won in Bulgaria and had described him as a messenger sent by God. Now, during this course in 2016, she had stopped taking her insulin and her medication, something Zhao, during the trial, the jury heard that he had congratulated her on. He denied that. During this workshop, the people who had attended had fasted for several days. Now, Mrs. Kargom became seriously ill. They heard during the trial that she had been crying on her bed, howling in pain after she had stopped taking her insulin, and she died on the 4th day of the course. Now, we had heard how Hong Chi Shao had previously been found guilty of the manslaughter of a 6-year-old boy in Australia, where he had also held one of his Pai Da Shin workshops. That was around 18 months before Mrs. Kargom's death. Now, in that incident, the boy...
following the footsteps of your father. It is also interested in further Qatari investment in UK infrastructure projects. So too is the Emir.
We wish to increase investment into the UK infrastructure, science and technology sectors, including AI, defense and education.
He also urged continued focus on conflicts in Ukraine and the Middle East.
This past year, we negotiated the release of 109 hostages in exchange for 250 Palestinian prisoners. But despite these early successes, more needs to be done on both conflicts. The Gaza Strip especially has been subject to near total destruction.
Whether it be trade deals, investment, or mediation in the world's conflicts, the UK is demonstrating that it sees a valued partner in Qatar. Rory Challens, Al Jazeera, London.
I dressed myself in $100 freedom flags. Who made this coat? Hugo Boss, Armani, you set up broke hills. My life just started, Jack. You keep your mouth shut, I'm gonna go there and slap your face. I ain't leaving. I'll wear a $15,000 Rolex. You get on Space Mountain, you'll be like that. And now, you and I are living around. Jet fly! I dressed myself in $100 freedom flags. Who made this coat? Hugo Boss, Armani, you set up broke hills. My life just started, Jack. You keep your mouth shut, I'm gonna go in there and slap your face. I ain't leaving. I'll wear a $15,000 Rolex and you get on Space Mountain. You'll be like that. And now, you and I are living the ride. Jet fly. Can't steal it. What am I doing? Son of a gun. Oh, who are you? Direct, tell me how to wrestle. Right life. Big cities. I am Ric Flair, the president. in the neighborhood and made a pie. Get stealing, wheeling, dealing. Cheers.
The very center of Africa. And the center of 2 million square miles of dense tropical rainforest. At first glance, it seems deserted and eerily still. Not an easy place to live. But in fact, there is a greater concentration of animals here than anywhere else in Africa. And in this world, they must grab every opportunity. Competition is intense and unrelenting. Even the forest itself fights its corner with spines and poisonous sap. Here, every living thing must fight for its space. Such beauty. But the flower is self-serving, enticing animals into an unwitting alliance. Stingless bees, they have to work hard. The forest flowers make them do so by rationing their nectar, forcing each bee to visit and so pollinate at least 1,000 blooms each day. For the bees, it's worth the effort. They need the nectar to make honey, which they store in pots. It's so precious, they keep it hidden beneath the bark of a tree. But their secret is out. Nothing is safe in this forest. Chimpanzees love honey. She seems oblivious to danger. A fall from up here could be fatal. But she does need a bigger stick. Only a chimp has the ability to break into a stingless bee's nest as well hidden as this. Chimps are extremely intelligent, but none is born with the skill to use a tool. Youngsters like this one must learn by watching. She uses special tools, one after another, to get all the honey she can. And in a few minutes, she destroys what took the bees years to build. In the rainforest, nothing is safe. Here in the Congo, there can be as many as 500 trees crammed into every acre. In the battle for space, some will rise to over 60 meters high in just a few decades. In a valley like this, there could be close on 1,000 different species of tree. Up here, the crowns barely touch. Each tree seems to respect its neighbor's space. When they germinate down on the forest floor, young trees and plants are less restrained. But every new generation fights it out in battles we can see by accelerating time. They must get light if they are to survive, and they squeeze, crush, and even slash one another in order to reach it. Despite the thick canopy above, some sunlight does filter through and allows a few low-light specialists to bloom near the forest floor. Down here, there are animals, too, that seek out the sunlight. The forest's largest predator, a female rock python. Her body is 5 meters long, weighs 100 kilos, and has 4,000 muscles that she uses to crush the life out of her victims. But right now, her need is not for food, it's for warmth. She finds a rare patch where a shaft of sunlight strikes the ground, and she begins to bask. She's cold-blooded, so this is the only way she can raise the temperature of her body. But now she's becoming very warm indeed, more than 10 degrees hotter than usual. At 40 degrees centigrade, she's in danger of killing herself. Just in time, she moves off. She disappears below ground. This is her nest, and it's full of giant eggs. It's critical for the eggs' development that they stay above 30 degrees. Here in this special filming burrow, she gently wraps her superheated body around the eggs, passing on to them the warmth of the sun. She has done this every day for 3 months. The repeated heat stress on her body is so great it could be lethal. And at the very least, it will take 3 years for her to recover from incubating this one clutch of eggs. Her parchment-shelled eggs carry the pressed imprint of her scales, an indication of the strength of her embrace. At last, her efforts are rewarded. But the babies can't stay here. They must leave their sanctuary and find food in the tangled world above. They're over 60 centimeters long, already big enough to be a threat to the smaller inhabitants of the forest. But they are themselves vulnerable, particularly to other snakes. But this one is their mother. Unusually for snakes, her maternal instincts continue for days after her eggs hatch. Even so, the forest is such a dangerous place that only 1 in 100 of her youngsters is likely to reach adulthood. Just each year, as many as 100 million lightning bolts strike the forest. That's more than anywhere else in the world. And with the lightning comes the rain. Up to 95% of the rain that falls here is generated by the forest itself. With the deluge will come change to the animals and to the forest. It's certainly perfect weather for frogs. The big storm is the cue for the most important climb of this frog's life. It's a male in search of a mate. But if he is to find one, he has to get to the top. He needs to keep his wits about him, for the rain also brings out hunters. Easy does it. The top at last. But he's late to the party. The higher a male sits, the further his voice will carry. So the top slots are worth fighting for. And he's won. He has the top place. So now it's time to sing. And a white-bellied female responds. They join together to mate. The loser will have to wait for the next storm before he sings again. She lay. It might look as if he has been banished into the rain, but in fact they're a great team. They share the incubation, 12 hours on, 12 hours off, for the next 3 weeks. In due course, there are mouths to feed, and now the male must prove his worth. Worms are a good start, and he's doing well. But the chicks are insatiable. Fortunately, other things are on the menu. He might be a poor nest builder, but he is redeeming himself now. domestic bliss. Rocky overhangs are the only place where Picathardis will build their nest, so they owe their home to the stream that revealed the flank of the giant boulder. This stream, and countless others like it, merge to form the great rivers of Central Africa. More than 450 billion litres of rainwater, travelling down thousands of rivers, are heading west. The waters pick up speed as the rivers spill over the edge of the central plateau and create giant cascades of white water. The Congo forces its way through the wildest, most untouched forest in the whole of Africa. The Congo River system drains an area the size of India, carrying the waters westwards towards the Atlantic. But before it reaches the coast, the rivers broaden, forcing back the forest. And here, for the first time, there is space. Wide, flat, and safe. These stretches of sand attract visitors from the coast. Skimmers, searching for somewhere safe to settle. The lower mandible of their beaks is greatly elongated. They slice it through the surface of the water at 10 meters a second. If and when it hits a tiny fish, it will snap shut. But why come upriver to these open sand flats? This is the answer. But this nursery will not exist for long. 4 weeks from now, it'll be under 10 meters of water. If by then these chicks can't fly, they will drown. The problem for young skimmers is that when they hatch, the lower part of their beaks is the same size as the upper. While they wait for it to grow, they do their best to learn the skimming technique. Open spaces may be safe, but they give no protection against the driving rain. These storms are a warning that the skimmers must soon leave. The river is already rising. This year, the chicks get away in time. It's not just water that has the power to clear a way through the forest. There are animals that can do that too. They have created a network of pathways that crisscross the lowland forest and run for thousands of miles in all directions. These pathmakers are surprisingly stealthy. But as night falls, there's a chance of catching a glimpse of them. Forest elephants are very social creatures, but in dense jungle, it's hard for them to find one another. These elephants are lucky. Here in the Congo, there is one special place where they can meet and mingle. A place that the elephants have created for themselves. And this is it. Sangabai, the legendary village of elephants. As well as being a place where they can enjoy one another's company, this great clearing satisfies another craving for salts. The salts lie deep under the mud, so the elephants have got to mine for them, which they do with high-pressure water jets from their trunks. The precious salts and the chance to socialize bring in elephants from far and wide. If an elephant is in the mood to mate, this is the place to be. This young bull is in a state of must, a kind of sexual fury. hormones and the excitements of the crowd that he seems to have taken leave of his senses. But will throwing his weight about impress the females? The cows only become fertile once every 2 years, so opportunities to encounter one at the right time are not common. This could well be the first chance this young male has had. He's lucky, and there are no older bulls around to put him in his place. Just for a moment, he is king of the bye. But his rule doesn't last for long. Enter another lusty bull, and a much bigger one. But the young bull is still charged up with testosterone. Bold or foolish, he's going into battle. He never really had a chance. Zangabai is a huge clearing, but it's still just a speck in this vast expanse of green. Elephants might fell trees and carve pathways, but nothing natural can hold back this forest forever. Nothing but the Atlantic Ocean.
Sayangmo mesita tigin tumtum weda chipata nafi. Munda tukisan babag betimwe ge shonin dona ge tungana tataha dinazo iritimo za pachani akoni sombela mo. Amen.
Rushlikon, a tiny village on the outskirts of Zurich and one of the richest communities in Switzerland. Real estate prices are booming, unemployment virtually non-existent, and social problems are few and rare. Or as the mayor puts it,
Rushlikon is a wealthy community, but they say, of course, you can be rich, but please don't show it.
One of the 5,300 villagers of Rushlikon is Ivan Glassenberg, CEO of the commodity giant Glencore. Last year, his company went public, earning him more than $8.8 billion overnight.
The next thing was surprising because we got a phone call from the tax office of the canton. They said, please be prepared to have a bank account that can accept 360 million of Swiss francs.
The tax revenues from Ivan Glassenberg alone produced a surplus of more than 50 million Swiss francs. So the mayor decided to lower the taxes.
We proposed to reduce by 7%.
But then trouble began. Meet Peter Kaddish and his wife Anna-Maria.
Ja, die Gemeinde wollte die Steuern 7% senken und wir haben dann einen Vorschlag gemacht, nur 5% zu senken. Also es ist eigentlich eine kleine Nuance. Es sind doch allerdings dann, es ist 2% sind doch 1 Million Schweizer Franken.
The million Swiss francs were supposed to be used to help poor communities in Africa impacted by Glencore operations.
Man wünschte, dass dieses Geld zurückgegeben wird, dass dieses Geld in die Entwicklungshilfe fließt, dieses Geld eigentlich dahin fließt, wo es erwirtschaftet wurde von den einzelnen Arbeitern im Rohstoffhandel.
In keeping with the Swiss system of direct democracy, the villagers gathered for a town hall meeting.
There was a flux of people coming to our meeting room, and we said, okay, maybe our 280 seats that are available will not be enough.
Many objected to Peter Kaddish's proposal. Some thought it was unfair to Ivan Glassenberg.
Ich finde das eine bodenlose Frechheit. Wir können da jemanden verurteilen in der Gemeinde. Vor 2 Jahren hat man ihn aufgenommen, man hat den Geldsäge gerne angenommen und jetzt tut man ihn so an die Wand stellen.
When the time came to vote, the outcome was obvious. Almost everyone wanted to keep the money in Rushlikon.
The council had never to interfere or to defend our own proposal, so that were the people that took it to their own.
Eigentlich das Extremste war meiner Ansicht nach, dass die Leute, die hier leben, dass man zu wenig weiß, was auf dieser Welt passiert und dass man aber trotzdem sehr stark betroffen ist. Man ist ebenso betroffen wie auf der anderen Seite die Leute, die darunter leiden. Also wir leiden nicht, weil wir viel Geld bekommen, aber wir sind auch betroffen.
This is the copper belt in Zambia. Beneath the ground are the largest copper reserves in Africa, an essential commodity in the global economy.
Glencore, under Glencore, yes.
Today, virtually all Zambian copper mines are owned by multinational corporations. In 10 years, they've extracted copper worth more than $29 billion.
As a country, as a nation, God has blessed us with such an abundant natural resource. Is that Zambia is ranked among the bottom 20 in terms of poverty, 20 poorest countries. We are wealthy, yet we are poor. The problem is no longer so much one of absolute poverty. It's become one of inequality, and Zambia is really a case in point for this.
A lot of people think that we in the West have been extremely generous in the amount of foreign aid that we provide to the developing countries, and particularly to Africa. Globally, our estimate is that the amount of money flowing out of developing countries is 10 times the amount of foreign aid flowing into developing countries.
I've come to Zambia to find out why this country, with its enormous wealth of natural resources, is still among the poorest in the world. Why the booming copper prices has not reduced poverty. The same question many Zambians asked themselves in the latest election.
Mr. Speaker.
In October 2011, Guy Scott, who once threatened to march on the copper plants if they didn't pay their taxes, became vice president.
We're aware that Africa is losing more money from tax avoidance by foreign companies. Every year than it's gaining from aid from the countries from which these people come. God, He gave copper to Zambia. And these people, if they don't respect the Zambian soil where there is copper, mining, or any other business venture in Zambia, they should contribute. These mining industries, they export and we don't know what they're doing with our money. If they're exporting our minerals, the money must come back to Zambia. So the current investors should wake up, stand up and be counted, and they should not wait for the government to push them. We don't have time pushing people.
Vice President Guy Scott was born in Zambia. He studied economics at Cambridge and holds a PhD in cognitive science.
It seems peculiar that you're vice president in Zambia and you're white.
Well, white vice presidents occur from place to place, like the United States of America has got one. And I don't think in the Caribbean it would be all that unusual. It's just a thing that's a bit unusual in Africa. But Africa's maybe changing. I'm a Zambian nationalist. Why not? What else would I be?
Well, a colonial farmer exploiting something?
No, I think plenty of farmers don't have any votes anyway, even if I wanted to stand on their ticket. And there are very few farmers here, white farmers.
So, but you understand the question, I guess. I mean, normally a white politician in an African country will be representing white minority interests. That's not the case here. I'm regarded as pro-poor, pro-unemployed, the ordinary people of the earth.
This is the London Metal Exchange, where the world market price on copper is determined. Between 2001 and 2008, the price on copper nearly quadrupled. Yet, despite the boom, the foreign investors paid virtually nothing in profit tax in Zambia. One reason could be transfer pricing.
Transfer pricing is an enormously damaging phenomenon right the way across Africa. The name of the game is to shift your profits out of the high tax countries, the onshore countries such as in Africa, where the profits are actually being made, and shift them artificially into low tax countries, into tax havens, where they won't be taxed or won't be taxed properly. The way that this is done is by multinational groups, is that they have subsidiaries all around the world, and these subsidiaries trade with each other, and they can artificially manipulate the prices of these trades for bookkeeping purposes, for accounting purposes. The tax haven subsidiary will buy something cheaply and sell it on much more expensively, and between that gap there's a huge profit, but they won't be taxed in the tax haven.
Much Zambian copper is not traded on the open market, but bought and sold internally within the same multinational corporations. On paper, this makes Switzerland one of the biggest importers of Zambian copper.
Switzerland is a huge purchaser of copper out of Zambia, but that doesn't mean that the copper is shipped from Zambia to Switzerland. The documentation goes to Switzerland, but the copper goes all over the world.
Only a 30-minute drive from Rüschlikon is the headquarters of Glencore, owner of one of the biggest mining operations in Zambia. This is where Ivan Glassenberg works. Glassenberg is the CEO of Glencore and owns 15% of its shares.
Right, Mr. Ivan Glassenberg, our esteemed CEO. It has been a very exciting period for the group.
Glencore is the world's largest integrated commodities trader, with a yearly turnover on more than 180 billion US dollars. More than 8 times the gross national product of Zambia. Glencore controls Mopani copper mines in Zambia through a 73% stake. All copper produced by Mopani is sold internally to Glencore in Switzerland. Despite its size, Glencore is virtually unknown to the public. In 2011, attorneys for Glencore warned news organizations in the UK that Glencore executives are extremely private individuals, and any reports about their homes or private lives could pose a security risk.
Your company is a major investor in the developing world. We believe developing countries need more investment, not less. Investment provides jobs, education, access to healthcare, and improved infrastructure. We spend hundreds of millions of dollars on goods and services, as well as running schools and hospitals at many of our operations. Without foreign investment, none of this would be possible.
Part of Glencore's Zambian operations have been suspended by the environmental authorities.
I wish you a pleasant flight.
Captain Yeager, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Vice President Guy Scott is visiting the plant and has invited me along. Residents have complained that mist containing diluted acid is drifting from the plant to their homes.
Something out of a bondage and discipline kit. If we carry on touring the mines like this, we'll get everything that we need.
Obviously, the standards have been loose. The only excuse, of course, always is if you make us spend a lot of money on anti-pollution measures, then we won't have any to spend on making more money out of
At the plant, I meet with the chairman of Mopani Copper Mines. When I ask him about the suspension, he seems perplexed.
Well, I don't know. We are good corporate citizens. We are open in our business. We are very when we deal with all outsiders, with all authorities that visit us. We open our books. We don't understand. In this particular case, the action by Zema was completely surprising. So we would like to find out why they took that action. We have challenged them on that issue, and we're expecting a response from them.
After further safety measures were installed, the operation was allowed to reopen. This is not the first time the plant has come to the attention of the Zambian authorities. In 2005, acid spills from the plant contaminated drinking water in a nearby township. In 2008, a similar accident occurred, sending hundreds of residents to hospital.
Well, I mean, the people in towns were turning on their taps and blue water was running out. As had been created by pumping sulfuric acid into the subsoil. And this was leaking into the waters. And everyone was turning green, blue.
We received about 400 patients with complications of vomiting, abdominal pains. We managed them. Yeah, but it was clear that it was due to the water contamination that came from there.
Supported by a $50 million loan from the EU's European Investment Bank, Glencore has doubled the production capacity at Mopani. The production of copper also emits high volumes of sulfuric dioxide and dust. Sulfur emissions can cause respiratory diseases and create acid rain that destroys vegetation.
A lot of respiratory tract infection cases come from Kankoyo, especially when the emissions are too big. You find that you get an influx of patients coming from the clinics to us. I feel it myself, the effect of the emission of sulfur dioxide.
Air pollution is regulated by WHO guidelines and limits set by the Zambian authorities. The levels are measured at 4 installations around the plant. The numbers are collected by Mopani officials and not made public. According to environmental groups and local residents, the undisclosed numbers prove that the pollution far exceeds both national and international standards.
The air tests that have been done by themselves, but also by other independent companies, have shown that we have as much as 1,000 times more emission of undesirable impurities than required by WHO, the World Health Organization.
We wake up, all of us, in the night, and also we start coughing together with the children. We didn't even sleep. We just continue coughing. If there is the bad air comes.
I asked the chairman of Mopani if it's true the air pollution from the copper plant far exceeds WHO standards.
The reference point is the Zambia Environmental Management Agency, and we operate within the terms set by the Zambia Environmental Management Agency. And licenses of all our operations are within those terms. So the statement by the NGO, I cannot comment on it. I would suggest that, in fact, we refer them to the Zambia Environmental Management Agency.
So it's false. It's not 100 faults above them. Sometimes 1,000 faults above the WHO standards in air pollution out there.
Well, what we're saying is that we operate within what the Zambia Environmental Management Agency stipulates, within the licenses that they stipulate, and we abide by those. So if other people do have evidence of something else, I would suggest that they contact the Zambia Environmental Management Agency, who are the authority to investigate any concerns that the public may raise.